putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Crazy world out there. Crazy world for lots of different conservative. You know what's cool about being a conservative is we don't think of ourselves as men or women or black or white. But I'm going to tell you, you go on the left and you find out the craziness of the world over there. Jeez. We talked earlier about Purdue University saying, man is bad. There's a university right now, I think it's the University of San Diego, that is saying they've got a class on how to impeach Trump. That's the I guess, like how to get away with, convicting an innocent man or something like that. So they've got a class dedicated to how to impeach the president of the United States. Can you imagine? I want to ask you this very simple question. Can you imagine a college or university doing that with Barack Obama as president? And he actually deserved it. Can you imagine? Let me tell you something. I think Obama's policies were the worst. I think he was the worst president in history. If a college or university, I don't care if it was Liberty or whatever, I'm talking about conservative universities, offered a class on how to impeach Barack Obama, and I believe most of us would be up in arms. We'd say that's a waste of our money, a waste of the money for parents who are sending their kids to school to study how to impeach this president. Now, if you want to do it on your own dime, that's one thing. But to do it as a curriculum, if it's a political science class, it says, let's figure out how to impeach the president, a president in general, and we use Obama as our example, or Trump as an example, maybe. But from what I didn't read the story, but from what I hear, it's just yet again academia saying we don't care about conservatives. Jimmy Kimmel just said the other day, I think there's no limits to what you need to do to go after conservatives. No limits. Man, I tell you what, when these guys need us, and this is what I've always said this has been my mantra for life. When people are like, oh, Kevin, you think you're something. Because that's what, generally speaking, it's a leftist who will tell you something like that. Like you're doing okay in your career. And then somebody else will come up and go, yeah, man, you think you're something. No, not really. I'm just doing what I do. Nah, you think you all did it, you all bourgeois, whatever. Let me tell you, almost to a person, when that's happened in my life, that person's needed me. That's right. They come back, hat in hand. You know what, Kev? I'm sorry, man, and I didn't realize this, the other, and I just look at him and go, yeah, remind me what you said the last time we talked? I don't even pay attention to these clowns anymore. That's what the left does. They want to transfer guilt onto you. They can't be happy until you have been made to feel like they feel. That's what it's about. Anyway, I want to get through a couple things that we've been wanting to get through today. And one of them is I played a clip from Luis Gutierrez, who called Trump an ethnocentric, essentially a racist, and essentially said all he likes is Europeans. He only wants people over here who are white, which I jokingly will tell anybody, if I ever have to get excommunicated from the United States to a country, it will not be a country of color where I go. I will go to a country that is dominated by white folks and let the chips fall where they may. Anyway, I wanted to play this other clip because Jorge Ramos, who's a journalist for Univision, and a guy that just really likes to get on TV because he thinks he's hot, and maybe he is, looking. But here's what he had to say about immigration in the United States.
It's not easy to be an immigrant nowadays in the United States. Many immigrants feel that they
illegal
are...
immigrant, Jorge. You mean illegal immigrant. You always do this, and it drives people nuts.
No.
Illegal immigrant.
First of all, I don't call them illegal immigrants because no one is illegal in this world.
What do they call them in Mexico?
They're simply undocumented immigrants. And the fact is that it is increasingly difficult to be an immigrant in this country. Donald Trump has made this a hostile, dangerous nation for many immigrants, undocumented and documented.
Latino unemployment is at a record low. It was 4.8% last month. That was the record low. Now it's 4.9%. That's not a good statistic for you. What do you want it at 2%? That would be nice. I'll take that too.
I think that's positive when it comes to economics. But how about if you're a family whose father or mother has been deported? How about if you're one of the people that the Trump government has arrested? The arrests in the Trump first year are 30% higher than in the last year of Barack Obama.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson, it's Kevin Jackson Show. I'd like to answer that question for Jorge, if you guys don't mind. But what it means, if you've been targeted by Donald Trump, you probably are a bad guy. The father who's been deported, you probably were dealing drugs. You're probably doing something illegal. You probably committed not only the crime, the immigration crime that you committed when you came over illegally and brought your children, your dreamers, but you've also committed some other crime. Donald Trump's been very selective about the initial phase of this immigration wave. And I think it's great. But I like that Laura Ingraham, corrects this guy and says illegal immigrant. And then you get to hear his take. His take is, I don't believe that there is any such thing as illegal. There's no illegal citizen around the world. What about Mexico? Well, they call them undocumented immigrants. No, they don't. They call them illegal. They put them in jail. Then they send them back across the border to El Salvador or wherever they came from Central America. They do not accept them. But Jorge doesn't want to talk about that. Laura Ingraham could have pressed him and said, well, hold on a minute. Let's look at what Mexico does and gone on. Was it good TV if she did that? I don't know, debatable. I would have watched it. But it bugs me that that's what these people do. All day long, they make up excuses. But what about the father that did this? What about the mother that did this? What about these that did this? Well, hey, Jorge, let me ask you this. What about the taxpayers who foot the bill? What about the person who loses a job? What about the kid who doesn't get that scholarship? What about the person who has to wait another hour in the hospital in agony because of the long line of other immigrants, and on and on and on? What about those consequences? They don't bring them up. And it's weird to me why they won't. Well, it's not weird. I know why. Anyway, I want to move on because this was an interesting case, and I want to play this clip. It's completely off the subject, but it goes on to show you more about leftism. Look at what gets blamed when a person is murdered, okay?
A defense team in Colorado is attempting to blame acne medication for the murder of a 20-year-old woman. The Longmont Times-Call says 15-year-old Aiden Von Grabo is accused of stabbing Michaela Grote to death with a hunting knife on November 18th. However, his attorneys are saying the acne drug Accutane played its own part in the murder. They're petitioning to call a psychiatrist as a witness at an upcoming hearing, who could testify that the drug can cause aggressive behavior. A judge did rule that the physician was not relevant. However, if the case goes to trial, it's possible he could still take the stand. Grabo also allegedly had a hit list and is facing charges of attempted murder for Grote's younger sister as well as 2 others.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Let me tell you, I didn't read that story. I saw the clip. I got had my producers get the audio, and I said, here's a perfect example of leftism throughout this entire story. You only heard a snippet of a story, and you heard leftism defined, described, drawn out. I mean, put in Braille. Everybody can understand it. Deaf people heard that. This is a crazy kid, made crazy by leftism. He goes out after, we're talking about probably indoctrinated in some school, got fixated, who knows, got no help, probably called the FBI, called the sheriff, said, I'm going to go kill people, said how he'd do it, put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pepigram, and all kind of grams, and then probably went out and got himself some drugs, certainly, what's it called, something cane that goes into his acne medicine, kills a young girl in the prime of her life, was plotting to kill others, and his lawyer says it was the zit medicine. That's what did it. Now, I'm going to tell you, having gone through puberty myself and been in military school with an all-boys school, I'm lucky to have survived it. I remember one of the Senator Mingdon, I went to school with his son. Senator Mingdon's son, I forget his first name because we call him Mingdon, but this dude had more zits, and he took pride and popping them in front of you. I mean, I'm not trying to get grotesque, but it was weird. But I can't imagine how his roommate may have felt knowing that this dude had that kind of the zit medicine he needed. So get this, folks. They're trying to use this as a legitimate excuse for a kid committing a murder, stabbing a young girl to death, and potentially stabbing others to death. If this isn't Kennedy-esque, I don't know what is. Don't be surprised if this kid grows up to be a senator from Massachusetts one day.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.